One day, you'll wake up and everything will feel heavier. Not because your body is tired, but because your soul is. It's a different kind of weight, the kind that settles deep into your chest when you realize time has been slipping through your fingers while you were busy performing a life that wasn't truly yours. The dreams you once held so vividly begin to rot into regrets, and the mirror no longer flatters. It tells the truth. It shows a face that once burned with vision, now dimmed by compromise. You see someone who traded silence for acceptance, someone who bartered their potential not for greatness, but for survival. And this isn't just a sad feeling, it's a crisis of the spirit. Because Nietzsche warned us, this life doesn't offer second chances. There is no dress rehearsal. Every moment you spend asleep to your own becoming is a moment stolen by the herd, by comfort, by fear. If you refuse to confront your mortality now, if you continue to pretend that someday you'll become who you were meant to be, then mortality will confront you later, not as a dramatic ending, but as a slow, suffocating realization that you never really lived. This is your wake-up call, a rupture in the illusion, a voice breaking through the noise to say, there is more. Not out there, not in another city, another job, another person, but in you, waiting, unlived. This is the beginning. It starts not with motivation, but with honesty, with the courage to strip away the lies you've accepted. And it begins in 5 chapters. Chapter 1, The Herd and the Death of the Self. You were not taught to live. You were taught to comply, to conform, to bend yourself into a shape that made others comfortable. From the very beginning, obedience was praised, curiosity was managed, wildness was tamed, wonder was sacrificed on the altar of stability. Fire was exchanged for safety, and in that quiet transaction, something sacred inside you began to wither. Nietzsche saw this clearly. He named it, the death of the self. And he warned us of its most tragic form, the last man. The last man is not evil. He is not cruel. He is worse. He is comfortable. He avoids danger, avoids pain, avoids greatness, all to preserve a shallow, riskless kind of peace. He survives, but never truly lives. Look around you. Society is a factory of sameness. It rewards predictability, celebrates compliance, and punishes the audacity to dream differently. From the moment you could walk, they handed you a blueprint, a script. Study hard, follow the rules, get the degree, take the job, settle down, keep quiet, consume endlessly, and then disappear. Die with your dreams still sealed inside you. And so many do. They build lives they never chose. They walk paths that were paved before they could even speak. They smile at the right times, nod in agreement, stay within the lines. And still, deep down, something feels off, something feels missing. And that something is you, not the version you've curated, not the mask you've learned to wear, but the real you, the untamed, unedited, unrepeatable you that the world never got to meet, the one who once burned with vision and hunger before the herd told you to sit down and behave. The herd whispers constantly, stay comfortable, don't question, be liked, fit in, don't stand out. But Nietzsche warned us, he who cannot command himself must obey. And that is the ultimate tragedy, when a man capable of so much depth and creation chooses instead the quiet death of imitation. Most don't even notice it happening. They obey until their soul decays, until the music within them goes silent, until they look in the mirror and see a stranger. But it's not too late. The herd can only own you if you remain asleep, and this chapter, this moment, is your first invitation to wake up. Chapter 2, Eternal Recurrence. Would you live today again? Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow, and it's today. Again, not metaphorically, literally. Every detail, every thought, every conversation, every choice, exactly as it was, and then it happens again and again, forever. This is Nietzsche's concept of eternal recurrence, and he didn't present it as fantasy but as a brutal test, a spiritual audit of your life. He asked, what if a demon crept into your loneliest moment and whispered to you, this life, exactly as you're living it now, you must live again and again and again, without change, without end? Would that idea break you? Would you curse your existence, dread your routines, hate your compromises? Or would you feel peace? Would you be overwhelmed by a quiet gratitude, knowing that what you've chosen, how you've shown up, and who you've become is worth repeating for eternity? That is the mark of a meaningful life. Not applause, not followers, not even what the world calls success. The measure is far more personal. It is this. Can you look at your ordinary day today and say, yes, this is worthy of forever? For most, the answer is no. Not because they're broken, but because they've forgotten how to live. So many are waiting, postponing, endlessly rehearsing a life they never fully step into. They tell themselves they'll start once the chaos settles. After the promotion, after the kids are grown, after retirement, after fear loosens its grip. But life doesn't wait, and time is deaf to excuses. It slips through your fingers whether you use it or not. Regret doesn't come like a fire. It comes like fog. You don't notice it at first, just a heaviness, a forced smile, a laugh that doesn't quite reach your eyes. Until one day, in the middle of the night, you lie awake hearing a whisper that says, you could have been more, you still can be. Nietzsche's eternal return isn't just a thought experiment, it's a mirror. It asks you to look at your life and answer one question with raw honesty. If today was on repeat forever, would that feel like a blessing or a curse? Chapter 3. The Will to Power, Becoming Who You Are. You were not born to follow. You were not created to be just another name in a system, another voice in the crowd, another dreamer who never dared. Inside you is something ancient, something Nietzsche called the will to power. It is not about the hunger for dominance over others, but the fierce desire to rise beyond who you were yesterday. It is the drive to overcome your limits, your circumstances, and even your past self. Life, he believed, is not about ease. It is not about comfort. It is a battleground, and you are both the warrior and the war. Within you lies the capacity to shape yourself not just once, but constantly. Like a sculptor chiseling a masterpiece from unyielding stone, you were meant to craft a life that is yours. But instead of picking up the chisel, most people surrender. They hand over their tools to fear, to routine, to what others think. They stay in jobs that corrode their spirit. They endure relationships that dim their light. They continue lives that no longer reflect anything true about them. Slowly, quietly, they abandon the work of becoming. Not because they cannot, but because they forget they can. The world doesn't want you powerful, it wants you predictable. From the moment you could dream, the voices began. Be realistic. Don't aim too high. Fit in. Play safe. Don't make waves. They never tell you that the cost of obedience is your soul. But Nietzsche did. He knew the price of staying small. He believed that, to be truly alive, you must revolt against the mediocrity that surrounds you, because authenticity is rebellion. And rebellion? It will cost you. To live a life that is truly yours, you must be willing to stand alone. Not just physically, but spiritually. You will be doubted, misunderstood, mocked. You will lose people. You may even lose the version of yourself that once craved their approval. But that is the path. That is the price. Nietzsche reminds us no one can build you the bridge on which you, and only you, must cross the river of life. You can't outsource your becoming. You can't wait for someone to show you the way. The bridge does not appear. It is built step by step, through every act of courage, through every truth you dare to speak, through every moment you refuse to abandon yourself. And that bridge, that sacred path toward who you really are, it begins the moment you stop asking for permission, when you stop waiting for validation, when you stop watering yourself down, to fit into containers that were never meant to hold you. That's when the will to power ignites. That's when you stop surviving and begin becoming not the version others want from you, but the one your soul has been calling you to rise into all along. Chapter 4. The Tragedy of the Unlived Life. Nietzsche did not fear death, not in the way most do. To him, death was inevitable, a natural punctuation mark at the end of life's sentence. What he feared far more deeply was something more tragic, reaching that final moment only to realize you hadn't truly lived, that you had spent your days asleep, going through the motions, breathing but never awakening. He believed the real tragedy wasn't dying, it was never being fully alive in the first place. When people look back on their lives, they rarely speak with regret about the times they failed. More often, they ache for the words they never said, the risks they didn't take, the parts of themselves they silenced just to make others feel more comfortable. It is not mistakes that haunt us. It's the moments we betrayed our own potential in exchange for safety. The dreams that withered in the shadow of fear, the talents that died unnamed, the soul starved in the name of fitting in. Nietzsche would say that many people are not living, but merely existing in what he called spiritual graves. Outwardly, they appear fine. They smile, they laugh at the right moments, they follow routines, they blend in. But beneath that surface, there is a hollow space where their spirit used to be. You can sense it, the dullness in their eyes, the heaviness in their voice, the way their presence leaves the air unchanged. There is no fire, no weight, no edge, just a performance. And we fear this, becoming one of them, living half a life and pretending it's whole. And yet we are seduced by the same comforts that put them to sleep. But fear is not your greatest enemy, numbness is. The gradual erosion of your will, the slow death of wonder, the shrinking of your world into routines and roles you never chose, but silently inherited. Nietzsche believed life should be lived with intensity, not passivity, that you were meant to burn, to radiate with such force and authenticity that the mere idea of becoming someone else, someone smaller, would sicken you. Your task is not to merely survive, it is to become fully, ruthlessly alive. And yet, instead of burning, most people decorate their cages. They take their confinement and dress it up with titles, possessions, and hollow affirmations of success. They convince themselves that comfort is fulfillment, that routine is purpose. But gilding the bars does not make them disappear. A cage, no matter how beautiful, is still a prison. The tragedy is not that you are trapped, but that you have forgotten you were ever free. And the soul? The soul cannot breathe in captivity. It does not bloom behind masks. It will not sing your song while you pretend you have none. When you ignore your inner calling long enough, when you abandon your path to walk someone else's, your soul begins to retreat. It dims. It hides. Until one day you realize it's not life you're living, but a rehearsal for something that never comes. Nietzsche's warning is clear. The greatest loss is not death, but the unlived life. And if you feel that warning in your bones, if something inside you is stirring as you hear these words, then listen closely. It's not too late. The fire is not out. But you must stop settling, stop performing, stop waiting for permission to exist. The tragedy of the unlived life only becomes irreversible if you continue pretending that this half-life, is enough. Chapter 5. Your second life begins now. Your second life does not begin when you move to another city, trade jobs, or buy something new to distract yourself from the ache of meaninglessness. It begins the moment you understand, truly understand, that you only get one life, not in theory, not in some abstract spiritual promise, but right here, in this breath, in this fleeting moment you're living now. That realization is not meant to comfort you, it is meant to rattle you, to wake you. Because once you see it clearly, there are no more excuses, no more illusions to hide behind, no more fantasies of tomorrow or saviors on the horizon. This is it. The curtain has been pulled back. you are completely, terrifyingly free. Nietzsche did not see freedom as a comfort. He saw it as a call to responsibility. He believed that once you become aware of your power, you are morally obligated to live with intensity. He urged us to imagine living the same life over and over again, every pain, every joy, every decision, on a loop for eternity. This was not a curse, but a challenge to live so truthfully, so fully, that you would welcome the repetition. And if you wouldn't, then something must change. Now. There is no perfect timing waiting in the wings. There is only the present moment, and it is demanding your courage. The longer you wait, the more you betray yourself. Stop waiting for permission from a world that never truly saw you. Stop asking others to validate your path, your dream, your soul. You don't need applause. You need truth. And truth often lives in silence, in solitude, in sacrifice. To begin your second life, you must first forgive, not with bitterness or pride, but with the grace that sets you free. Love, not in fear of loss or rejection, but because love is the only thing worth risking everything for. Dream, not because it's safe, but because your soul will suffocate in a cage of practicality. And above all, stop shrinking. Stop folding yourself into versions that make others comfortable. Stop wearing lives that no longer fit. You were not born to live in the shell of your former self. Right now, you stand at a threshold. One path leads back, to sleepwalking through the days, repeating old stories, playing small. The other leads forward, into the fire of who you really are, into a life that will ask more of you, demand more, but finally belong to you. This is the sacred decision, the one moment that defines everything that follows. The question is not, what do you want to do with your life? That question is a distraction. The real question, the one you must answer now, is this: what will you do now that you know the truth? If this message stirred something in you, if it touched the part of you that's been silent, waiting, forgotten, then don't keep it to yourself. Share it, not for attention, not for views or likes, but because someone you know is still asleep. Someone you care about is trapped in the same silent war you've been fighting, between who they are and who the world told them to be. We're surrounded by people wearing masks, numbing the pain, calling it normal. They laugh, they nod, they go to work, they scroll through their phones, but deep inside, they've stopped hoping. And they don't even realize it. They've settled. Not out of weakness, but because no one reminded them they didn't have to. So if this voice echoed in you, send it forward. Let it be the jolt, the wake-up call, the spark. Not to change the whole world, but maybe to save one soul from fading into the gray. That's all it takes sometimes. One voice, one moment. One reminder that they were born for more. Don't share it to be heard. Share it to remind someone else that they are still alive.